Jrue Holiday at 35. Uh, Above Harden, above Rudy, above Şengün, who's pretty high on this list here after a standout season before the injury. Towns, who I'm not the biggest fan of, but did have a nice postseason that helped them get to the West Finals. Chet Holmgren, who I thought was incredible as a rookie. I think there's some questions about him moving to the 4 if he has to next to Hartenstein, but he hit 37% of his threes last year. And Holiday might be a little high, but he's defending every position, shooting 40% from 3, a ball handler who can facilitate for you. He just does everything. So much respect. Everybody says he's one of the best defenders in the league. It's tough for me to not rank him high here, given the impact he had on the championship team, the versatility of his game, and just how dominant his defense is.
In the Olympics, I think that's just it kind of showed you what he's capable of when given a bigger opportunity. Even early on when he was a starter, it's like you realize that his offensive game is a lot more versatile, and he has a much deeper back, I think, than people think on a nightly basis because he just doesn't go into it. But I would actually say, I'm not going to deny my bias here, but I think Holiday at least is in the right spot. But Trae Young, I would probably push back a little bit. Like I think that some of these guys on this list, 32 through 40 are more impactful than him. So he's somebody I think you have a little bit too high, just taking defense into account, and he has had some struggles with efficiency at various points, but for the most part, this grouping of 10 is clearly better than the last grouping. So I'm generally with you, but I think you have Holiday around the right spot at 35, and it is kind of remarkable when you look at it. At this point in his career, with the relatively modest numbers that he averaged last year, like he is still a top 40 impactful player, and I think that he got paid like it, and he was selected to the Olympics like it. So I don't think it's a crazy viewpoint to have. I don't think it's a very Celtics viewpoint. I think it's pretty accurate.
Yeah, and all these guys here have one big bankable skill. For Harden, it's probably the passing at this point. Gobert's post defense is probably the best in the league. Şengün passing out of that 5 spot, he's as good as anyone there, short of Jokic. Towns, the three-point shooting at his position. Holmgren, post defense. Jrue, perimeter defense, right up there with anybody. And, if you want to say Derek White, Herb Jones, some of the other big perimeter defenders around the league deserve similarly high standing. To me, it's just that 40% three-point shooting alongside that is so valuable. And if that stays up, he's still in this top 40 range to me. If that drops off, he's probably fallen out of this range at his age. And, we'll see how consistently he plays at this point for them. And again, direction. He's probably pointing down at this point in his career, at least taking a step back. Doesn't have to carry a heavy load. So that's why I'll have him behind a Young, Siakam, Murray, Markkanen, even guys who are just carrying such heavy loads for their teams. Holiday doesn't really have to do that anymore. So Markkanen, I'm torn on him. I think he's pretty one-dimensional with the three-point shooting, but he's so good at it. It's such a valuable skill. He rebounds too, so I think he's worthy of being top 40. He just got paid like it, certainly. Murray's going to be interesting. Injuries
He's
led
so
to him
tough.
having a
Yeah.
horrible finish to last year and then the Olympics. So I had him a little lower than many probably would here and could
Yeah.
trend lower if that play continues. Siakam, I love, perfect nearly through the playoffs for them. And I'm glad to see it because I think people got a little low on him, and he's still so skilled and growing in many ways. And Young, I have to show him some respect. I know people are low on him as anyone, and the defense has certainly crushed Atlanta every year he's been there. He's going to be a tough guy for anyone to build around, but he is one of the best passers in the league. He does stretch the floor far and can hit a good percentage of a high volume of threes. And he's a guy that, just watching Celtics Hawks over the last handful of years in a playoff series there was able to hurt Boston when he went against them. Probably one of the more effective guys I've seen play against Boston, in my time covering them. So I got to show him a little bit of respect.
Yeah,
If you
that's
want
fair.
to
He
use the
he was
defense to
impressive in
drop
that
him,
series. Yeah.
if you want to drop him on the defense, I'm as big of a defensive guy as anyone. You can do that. But 31 felt right to me.
Yeah, I think Jamal Murray gets a lot of flack because obviously did not have a good Olympic run. I feel like he's a little bit in that Tatum pool of like him being on the Olympic team just kind of ended up being a big national headache for him. Maybe not to the same extent, but at the same time where you say, he obviously wasn't efficient and he was in a shooting slump throughout the playoffs. He also had 2 game winners, like legitimately won them 2 games. There is something about him that I will never bet against, just because we've seen him at the highest level get it done. And I, feel like honestly, like when people look back on that, that Nuggets team that won the championship, I almost feel like he's underrated because Jokic was the Finals MVP and the Conference Finals MVP. There wasn't really debate about it, but Jamal Murray put up numbers and accomplished enough to warrant those accolades on a different team. So the question I think is he healthy? And if he is, like I do believe that he easily can be a top 30 player. I mean, in a playoff series, like I'm still gonna pick him over most of these guys that we've talked about, if not all.
Hey, Buddy Manning here. If you made it this far, you probably enjoyed this video, so subscribe, turn on notifications, and check out our social media platforms at Celtics CLNS.